getting at a very difficult point in this build. And I think, some other people probably run into this. So we have mocked up a ton. We've done seat pans on the inside. We've done rear seat pans. We've done trans tunnel. We've done front airbag mounts. We've done control arms, frame. We have not done the rear end yet, even though Mike is supposed to be cutting the rear end down. Once Mike does the rear end, we are moving on to 4-link brackets. We've already got the Heim joints in. We've got steering rack in here, but the steering rack's not mounted up. We've got the fenders going through the bodywork process. So the shape of the fenders are done. So we're getting really to a point that the whole car is kind of mocked up besides the 4-link. So let's walk over this real fast, just in case you're new to the channel, and let's catch up where we're at, because there's a lot of new people here. So the rear trunk, we still need to fit the perimeter up, okay? We need to do a license plate thing here. We need to do some trunk work to the back, to the metal. The inside of the trunk, we have fitted it up. It just needs to be, welded out, all right? Our fuel cell, we've fitted up, all right? But we need to put in the gas cap. So the gas cap is going to go here, or the fill neck. The interior of the car, we have the doghouse for transmission in. We have the front floor pans in. We have the center drive shaft enclosure in. We have the rear seat pans in. Everything is screwed in, so everything come right out. Nothing is finalized. The seats are just sitting there. They don't have any mounts on them. The front end, we've done the fenders. We have the airbag mounts in place where they go. Nothing is welded out final. We have the upper control arm mounts tacked in. Nothing is welded out final. We have the steering rack. So we haven't showed the steering rack yet, but this is a very nice unit from Sweet Manufacturer. This is a custom one-off that we will be going over, but I'm not quite there yet. I'm waiting for the tie rod ends. We're doing Heim joints like a race car or an off-road rig, and it's going to go somewhere right here, but I kind of want them Heim joint pieces to kind of make sure it's sitting right. Also, we have a plasma table we purchased. I kind of wanted to plasma cut the plate. Not sure if that's going to happen, so we're kind of waiting on a couple things with this. Now, we need to do radiator mounts, and we need to do intercooler mounts, all right? And we need to mount the turbo. But we need the fenders on the car to do all of that. So we need the grill on the car and everything in order to do that. But I kind of wanted the steering rack put in because it's going to go somewhere in here before we start figuring out radiators and all that. In order to figure out put the steering column in and connect it, we need the steering rack in. We're going to kind of work from steering rack, and then we will hold the steering wheel, measure our steering column. But in order to hold the steering wheel and get that measurement, we need the seats in. Now, they are adjustable. We basically know where they're at, and we could already order a steering wheel, but we haven't. The hood's not really getting too much done to it. Not 100% sure what we're going on with it, but the hood needs to be worked. But in order for the hood to be worked, the fenders need to be back on the car. All right? So it's kind of like the things that you have to think about. All right? The rear quarters, we need the rear end mounted. So we need to know, we know pretty much within, I think, a half of an inch, a quarter of an inch, exactly where the wheels are going to sit. But we just need to be set in stone before we start doing sheet metal work to these quarters. This is a lot of work. The other side has to be sectioned in, like it's a lot. So we want the rear axle with the 4-link in and working before we start doing the metal work on the fenders, and the fenders can come off. Let's get talking interior real fast. So I do have us scheduled for the end of the year with Troy's Upholstery and Fab in Wilmington. I told him we'll get this thing in the end of the year, meaning I have to make sure this interior is ready for upholstery come the end of summer. Being I'm on somebody's upholstery schedule, this does not affect upholstery. This rear piece does not affect the upholstery. He said upholstery might take 2 to 3 months, meaning we're going to need something to do. Now, I already have the next build planning out, but I've not purchased the vehicle that we are building next, and I haven't told y'all what we're building next. The fenders don't need to be on the car to do upholstery. The turbo doesn't need to be on the car. The engine doesn't need to be built. Nothing needs to be done to do upholstery besides the interior in here, obviously. So I think what we're going to do, being the fenders are out of here and there at the body shop, is I think we're going to dive back in here this weekend and try to start finalizing basically from here about somewhere in here forward. Start welding all this stuff in and getting it done 100%.
bloom, bloom. Okay, grab my tape. Look. Wait, let me see you in the camera. You in the camera? Dad, you in the camera, actually.
Yeah. Should be one laid on top.
Like this one?
Yep.
Okay. Got to get a little.
I was literally welding yesterday and sitting here and I was like, man, we got to be about through that roll. What is that? Does it say the weight on these? I don't know. It's 023 wire, which is what I have absolutely fell in love with. So, of course, it's Saturday now, about 3 o'clock, 2 o'clock, and, oh, okay, 12.5. So that should have been about a 12-pound roll of that also. And we got to put this gnarly 035 back on here. Which way does this one go? Which absolutely sucks because I definitely don't want to run 0.35. Not 0.35, just 0.35. Let's see if we got tips. Yes, we got tips. The 23 wire, the 0.23, this stuff has been working absolutely amazing. So if you're working on one of these projects, definitely consider switching to the 0.23 because I'm way bigger of a fan. The 35 is just going to be a bigger wire. It's going to put more down. We're doing a ton of spot welds this weekend, so we'll see how much of this we can use up because I don't think I will ever buy 30 or 35 ever again in my life. The 23 does such a tight, nice little weld that unless you're just welding like huge fence gates or pipes or something, that 0.35 is just, it gets sloppy fast. But where we were at before we ran out of wire is we got the whole car tore apart. We got our front pans done, and then I kind of turned the time-lapse and camera off, and we fit up our side pans. So I think you just seen the B-roll put in the side pans, and then we had the whole center console back in. We got our slant cuts on our center console. We haven't grinded them smooth or nothing. We sat the pan back in, and I said, well, before we get too far, we need to add some kind of brace in here to kind of tie this together. I'm not super stoked about these floor supports running through here and not being tied together. Normally, like if you look underneath the unibody of a car, the floor support would go there, and then the channel would go up and over and down. A lot of hot rod guys just throw these things together. Like I've been watching YouTube, I've been watching the stuff. They don't think about, besides the high-end builders, they don't think about how to put anything together. And I don't have a ton of talent where I can do it super clean, but I am going to try to at least tie stuff together. So what we did is we took it back to the race car. Anybody that does race car knows you can always throw tubing in there. So we put a plate down here just like you would if you were welding into a unibody. Welded that to add a little bit of strength, and then we ran just a bar up and over, tied it in there, and the welds do not look good. I should have cleaned off this gray coating on these tubes. All I did was sand the ends of them, but I definitely did not clean it off, and the weld is just not wanting to stick to these tubes. So I'm having to fight with it. It's balling up a little bit. But we got some welds in there. Again, they're not the cleanest, but they are really hot and stuck. And down there, it's not the cleanest down there at the bottom either. It's kind of balled up a little bit, but they're on there, trust me. We got that welded down. And then we're going to cut these back. So these floor structures now will cut back to this plate. We'll cut that one at a 45, and we'll cut this piece out. And what that will leave us with is just our frame. This is our frame cross member, and then this is the floor cross member. So instead of doing this boxed channel cross member right here, normally you would take that and go up and over. It's a lot of angles, a lot of cuts. It's kind of funky. This doghouse over here on this side goes up perfect, but then if you remember, this side was cut back. So you can see it like that. So it's not perfectly just up and over and down. It gets really funky when you go down that side. So figured for this situation, tubing was the best. It would put plenty of strength into that doghouse. And then you got this 45 over here. You got a 45 over here. You got trans tunnel tied in here. So by the time you tie all this together, this area right here should be really strong, which is what I want. That up there is tied into the firewall. So you have super strong here, and then about 2 feet, another super strong area. And then we'll have somehow in here, we'll get some stuff over around the seats. So that should be, my goal here is 3 points. I want a bar across here. 3 points that are really solid to tie this thing together. And of course, all the tunnel will be welded in. So that's kind of where I'm at. I completely burned all that in yesterday, all the way up, over, around the seams. I went back on the inside of this one and fought with all the rubberized undercoating that's on the firewall and everything, and got poo-poo stacked around there, stacked some poo-poo around the edges, just really doo-dooing it up in here. Everything gets covered with seam sealer and lizard skin, like rubberized coating whenever we're done. So you won't see anything. You just gotta make sure it sticks. Started welding all this in, and as you can see, we're welding the sheet metal to the tubes. When we go to weld the bottom of the car and the transmission's out, we'll then come in from this side and we will attach the sheet metal, maybe in 3 spots to that tube also from the back side. So this center area hopefully will be really strong. All right, so we are putting this dash back in here, as a lot of you know, but I don't know if we've covered it in the past. We're gonna make this thing removable. So this thing will come in and out pretty much that easy. Basically on these cars, if you wanna do yours the same way, I don't know if you're hot rodding one or just restoring one, you can take your screws actually and go up from the bottom, okay? Because they just through bolt through them. And then that gives you studs that you can simply just hang it on, and then you'll put a nut on it. Now on the finishing end of things, we will have where the nuts are at the correct height where they're nice and smooth, and it's just little tiny studs sticking up. But we want to make this dash where the hopefully the column is very easy to drop or disconnect, and then the dash is very easy to get out, because I want to try to hide some stuff behind the dash is the game plan. If this thing gets in a side impact, we've talked about it in the past, we want to put a crossbar through here. That's why I said this structure through here should be pretty decent with that bar up and over. This pan is not down in the back right now. It's got tension on it. We have broke these back where this comes at a 90 and it lays back at a 45 to match the same angle as the rear seat pan. All that's going to get welded in. We're going to leave these floors until very last. I'm about to self-tap screw it down, but these are going to still be able to come out. so we can get there and work on the air tanks and stuff like that. They're going to be like very last thing to get welded in is going to be the actual two pans. So strong here, bar that goes under the seat pan up over the drive shaft and across there, tie that in, and it's going to get a little bit of hidden cage in it for safety if this thing gets T-boned. We've talked about it. So behind the dash, the A-pillars, we do have the firewall. So even on a race car like a 6-point cage, I think, or 8-point cage, you don't have to have the dash bar to get it certed because of the firewall to help it not collapse. But this one, we really need everything because these old cars are just extremely unsafe. They're tin cans. I mean, there's nothing in this door. Once we figure out how low the window will go down, we're going to try to slip some door bars inside the door just to protect my life, my family's life, and anybody else in the future, because these things are just death traps. These old cars, they really are. So what we want to look at now is seeing if we can get a dash bar that will go behind the dash through here. I don't know if that's possible with the radio and everything. Looks like it's going to be really hard. We do need to cut all of this backing off the radio because the radio is not going to be functional. So we're basically saw all the back off and then epoxy anything that's loose in the back side of it. But I wasn't trying to do that right now. We need to see if somehow we can get a freaking dash bar through here, and that will also give us something to mount our steering column off of, because I'd rather mount our steering column off of a dash bar instead of the actual dash. That way we can lose this, and then the dash can hopefully just slip out over the column. We'll have the steering wheel where it's detachable just like a race car. A lot of race car technology we're trying to utilize in here. All right, well, the sun is dropping and I got the bay door open, so I'm sure my neighbors are loving all the noise. But we got our bar set. So what we did was we made a simple paper template. So we made this template to fit in that area, and we cut this out. And this would have been an excellent piece to cut on the plasma cutter. However, we don't have the plasma cutter up and running. But with the paper template and a cutoff wheel, I was able to cut it up and clean it up the best I could and get it in here. Now you can notice that my fit up is not perfect on this bar. This is not a race car. This is for just pure added safety. And that's it. I don't have to have tight fit up. I'm making it. I'm filling gaps, baby. We're going to weld all the way around it. I just wanted to make sure it will fit up good. And that's going to tie this bar into this A-pillar box. Now, in an event of accident, this A-pillar box will collapse. It is just metal and it is hollow inside here and behind here. But I put this bigger plate on here because if it starts to collapse, hopefully this plate, I think this plate is 3/16 or a quarter. I think it's 3/16. The same stuff we built the frame rails, the front box out of. So when it starts to collapse, hopefully this plate will kind of catch this sheet metal and help keep this door right here at this hinge from collapsing. And we've got it all the way across where it is level, and it ties into the other side over there. And we'll weld it all in. Now the speedometer should clear, but radio in the glove box may clear, but probably won't. However, we're going to completely rebuild the glove box. I'm going to attach the glove box to that bar. This radio is freaking ridiculous how big it is back in the 40s, 50s. So we're basically, I marked it when I was under there. We're going to saw straight through this thing. I mean, this radio, dude, I'm not using this radio. This car is going to be wired with Bluetooth, so we're not even going to need the radio. We're going to saw through it. That's going to make this dash light. We're going to completely restore this dash, though. Don't freak out. We're going to clean all the knobs up. We're going to hydro dip this thing black wood grain, polish everything up, paint it. This dash piece is going to look original. All the radio button functions and everything are still going to be here. Hopefully they'll still click. We'll restore everything on it, but nothing in the dash will be functional. The gauges may or may not get hooked up. Probably they won't, because it's going to be a pain in the butt to unhook them. They are just mechanical gauges, but we're not going to need them because this car is going to be running a digital touchscreen setup. So I want the gauges to light up, and I want the glove box to work, and probably the radio light up and everything, but I don't want I don't care about any of it working. So once we cut the radio out, we should be able to put this back in. Now, we did have to go ahead and cut our bar right here. I don't have a torch to heat it up. I have a little torch, but it won't work. Cut it. I got to grind that, clean that up, but we had to do that because it wouldn't clear this. It was swung in, so it does clear that now. I did test that before I put that bar in. However, it won't open now because the bar is in the way. So what we're going to have to do is come in here and build a rod that curves back. It's gonna have to go up and curve back, so when this swings forward like that, it clears it, because that is what opens up the fresh air cowl. And we're keeping the fresh air cowl. I don't know if we're gonna have it where it pops open, the air hits a box and rams it into the engine bay to force air into the engine bay, or if we're gonna keep it where it actually works as a fresh air for inside the car. I'm not 100% sure yet, but that is very important for me to keep original, and I don't want it to leak, so we're gonna replace the sills and everything, but I'm thinking about building some kind of box. This also is just an excellent freaking piece here. If you come from race cars, then obviously you know that you can hang so much off of this. I mean, everything, dude. I mean, you can hang pedals that sweep. We can mount our brake master cylinders up here. I mean, this is just an amazing piece that I really wanted up here to tab off of for fab work. We're going to need to clearance this. So you hear that squeak? You got to watch out for stuff like that. So we're going to need to put a little clearance in this. Probably should have put that bar up a little bit. I didn't think about that. I just left it resting on there so that I could level it. But I probably should have just moved it up. But it's all right. We can just, when we take that piece out to clean it all up, we can clearance it. So we'll get all that welded up. And you'll see here, what was this? The original parking brake. The car's not going to have a parking brake. I didn't feel like dealing with that on the rear end. You can put a parking brake if you want. And again, you got a bar right here to weld a parking brake if you want pedal or anything off of. So I feel like this bar is very, very freaking important. For this build, for the fabrication side and for your safety. Remember, bar through here, and then in the back, we're going to work our way back here moving forward, and we're going to have a bar also that runs from speaker deck to speaker deck. So if you get hit in the rear, the rims are going to slow it down, the rear axle is going to slow it down, and the bar up there is going to slow it down. So about right in here is going to be really strong, which is to be where the back of the passengers are. If you have any kids in the back, it's only gonna be kids. The B-pillar I'm extremely worried about. I have talked to Mike, and when this thing's completely done, I think it is going to go to Uncle Mike's, and I think he's going to put a hoop in it. And then Troy, my amazing upholstery guy who loves me so much, is going to make sure that we get all of this hid in there. And then we'll probably we might actually go ahead and do that. We'll probably work on putting a bar up here, tucked behind here. I don't know if I'm gonna let Mike do that or not. Thinking when we roll the bar up in there, just roll a bar and just tab it off of this, because we don't need to attach it really to the A pillars or nothing. I mean, it's literally, if we just attach it to the sheet metal, it will strengthen up this sheet metal. So if we roll this thing for some reason, I mean, stuff happens. People roll their Toyota Camrys. If you roll it, then that won't collapse. Hopefully there'll be a hoop here. B pillar won't collapse. It'll be tied into the hoop down there. That won't collapse. The back won't collapse. And we will have some freaking safety in this old tin can crap box. The glove box. I'm thinking something pretty trick. We'll have the door that opens on the dash itself, but we will actually build the glove box pocket off of this bar out of sheet metal. So we will box in a huge tray up inside here that basically when you open the dash up, you can get up in here and whatever we want up in here. Fuses, relays go in the back. I don't know how big the computer system is that we're going to be using for the electronics, but it could possibly be tabbed and mounted up in here depending what we do with this. This bar just right here is super, super, super important for hiding stuff behind the dash and allowing us to have stuff to attach to. So this weekend, made some decent progress. Front floor pans, 100% welded in. Trans doghouse is welded in, and the trans tunnel is now it's welded in. It can't come out. It's welded to the 45s. We have to finish these 45s right here to cap this off, and then we will hopefully Mike will get the rear end done. We'll be taking the seat pans back out, 4-link, and then once all the 4-links done, then we will completely weld up the back. But we're going to move forward to probably fabbing the package tray and the latch system and everything for the seat next and welding all this out. Smash that like button for me. You probably want to turn on your notifications because I'm only dropping like 1 video a week now. It's been killing me, but I've just slowed down in life, and I'm working on this on the weekends. And so we're doing about 1 a week, and you definitely want to be notified and not miss it whenever we drop it. Thanks, y'all.